All right, I will bring this meeting of the IFEDA to order. Do roll call. Everyone is present with the exception of Commissioner Buller. Audience, we have one. How are we doing? We doing all right? Good, because you would be the one person that would know.
Yes, I see.
I appreciate that, I think. Okay, accounts payable. I don't believe we have any. Oh, we do have accounts payable. As we remember last month, we did have the passing of Hanson's Outpost for $9,600.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
Point of order. This is Commissioner Holden's meeting.
Yeah, when we have our next regular city council meet or EDA meeting, he can't hold that office.
Okay.
He what?
Can't hold the office of the E. Can you help me with that?
Well, right. The laws and rules say that you have to be in the position for at least, is it a year?
Yes.
Did we find last time? Yes, I forgot about that. That is correct. So at the next regular meeting, we need to redo the offices. That is correct.
Well, that'd be for all. When you're a first-time councilman, when you first come in, like human resources, you can't be chairman or.
Well,
I'd really like to have that conversation at the next committee of the whole meeting.
I mean, I don't get it.
I don't either, but we're
was,
trying to get through it.
Yep, we did. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to put up a battle or nothing, but I just don't get it because when you're coming in, if they think you're good enough to run the meeting, I mean,
right.
Be in that position. I don't see what another year is going to.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Right. This is something that came to my attention, and so we're just trying to get through it.
Yeah.
For clarification, is it the charter? Or is it state law?
Well, you know what? I don't remember the documentation that Administrator Anderson had put in front of us at that last meeting and pointed that out. And I don't have it in front of me, so I cannot state it.
But with that being said, I'm sweating right now because I'm on the spot.
I mean, like I say, I'm not going to battle it. The year goes by pretty fast. It'll be here before you know it.
Well, right, and I think there was some interpretation there, so that's what we need to clarify.
Okay.
And I think we need to have a council discussion on that, for sure.
Well, I apologize for my point of order. I was not aware of the situation.
No, that's fine. All right, so we do have two. Yeah, I'm sweating now because I got put on the spot. I was scared. So we do have two bills that need to be paid. One is going to be that stopgap deferment of $9,600. That's going to Hanson's Outpost, and the $1,000. Can you give us a background on what that is?
Yes, that is when we hired Mary Ipple out of the tax, and I'm not even trying to pronounce those other two names of the law firm, to prepare and make sure that our stopgap loan documents were legal and binding to be able to do this program. And so those are the legal fees for that process. Okay.
So those are accounts payable is in the amount of $10,600. Chair would entertain a motion to make the accounts payable.
Move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kraus. Second by Commissioner Deitch. Discussion? Hearing none, call the question.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Motion carries 4-0. Next, we go to consider accounts payable for stopgap deferred loan program. If you look in your confidential packet, there are two. Chair would entertain a motion to, well, actually not a motion. Betty, can you give us some background on the first one we're looking at, which is Essential Health Solutions, DBA Snap Fitness?
Yep, that is with, give me 1 second here. I had my originals and I don't right here. That is with Miss Haley Silvers. She has been the owner of the Snap Fitness over on I believe it was between 6th and 7th Street over by the Minnesota Power, coming into town there. And then she had eventually purchased part of the fitness center out by the Hardys on Sherwood Drive as well. So she is expanding her business, and so she is asking for to be able to utilize the program due to being closed. She was one of those that Governor Walz's order did, they had to close for a period of time. And that's what this program is for those who had to close, were required to close to help gap those expenses. They had no minimal income coming in for rent and, things of that nature. Therefore, she would qualify under the regulations that were put together and for the program when we had originally put it together.
Yeah, and I saw where across the state of Minnesota, fitness centers were hit the hardest, I think, a lot of those businesses. And I read her application and how she was going to use her.
She clearly states in the, for her mortgage, utilities, and payroll get caught up on those items, which is, pretty much what the program was designed for.
Yeah.
All right, so the chair would entertain a motion to accept or deny the Essential Health Solutions DBA SNAP Fitness.
I'll make that motion.
Motion to accept or deny?
Accept.
We have a motion to accept by Commissioner Holden. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Commissioner Kraus. Discussion? Hearing none, call the question.
Aye.
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 And I'll vote yes. Motion carries. 4 for the motion, 0 against the motion. Next, we have Howard Cenex East. Again, could you give us a little background on that one?
Just a little background, and we did send them an application, and due to the fact that they were a restaurant, and some of our restaurants were forced to close. However, they have a little bit of a unique situation with their restaurant. It's within their convenience store. The convenience store wasn't obviously, required to close. They, had to put precautionary measures in place and different things like that. However, they weren't mandated by Governor Walz to close their business. So this is a little bit of a different scenario. But we still wanted to bring it in front of you folks to, read through it. And I'm not quite sure, according to the rules and the guidelines that were set up in our program, that I believe they want to do a sign. And not quite sure that is what they want to purchase, a digital read board to be placed on a pole sign by Highway 53 is what they're requesting the $9,000 for.
Okay. So the chair at this time, does anyone have any questions that possibly the city administrator can answer, or?
Mr. Mayor.
Please.
When this was first conceived by the former city administrator and myself, I wouldn't disagree that this business as a restaurant would qualify for it. And one of the stipulations that we put forth on the money was that we weren't going to ask what they were going to, they could use it for anything. That was the beauty of this loan program, is that it didn't have stipulations. But I will note on the application that restaurant and food service is not checked on the application. And that was one of the entire reason that this was created, was to help businesses that were forced to close during the pandemic. So specifically, we targeted bars, restaurants, and fitness centers because they had to remain closed while convenience centers, big box stores, other things were able to remain open. I don't know that we can necessarily take into account what they're going to use it for because, again, we didn't put any stipulations on what you can and cannot use it for, but I would point out that they did not close. As a matter of fact, I don't believe they were open. I believe they were in the middle of a renovation when the pandemic first hit, if I remember correctly. They didn't open until quite a bit later.
I think you're right, Joe.
So it would be my motion, as much as I think that this is maybe a decent use for it, I would make the motion to deny this application on the grounds that it is not in the spirit of what we were attempting to do by lessening the burden with a zero interest loan for businesses to remain open. And again, it's not the restaurant portion, which would be one of the qualifiers for the loan, is not checked.
With that being said, could you restate your motion?
My motion is to deny.
We have a motion by Commissioner Kraus to deny. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilor Holden. Any additional thoughts on this application?
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Please.
again, I agree that they may potentially qualify, but I just don't feel that it's in the spirit of what we are trying to accomplish by providing this zero interest funding.
Okay. So just playing, I agree with you. I just want to kind of figure out how this moves forward in the event that we deny it and they resubmit it, but they do check restaurant and food service. Then are we looking at that it makes more sense and that we would approve it? Because if that's the case, I would.
I mean, again, when Administrator Anderson and I'm going to take credit for this because we sat down and had a meeting about this and came up, and I was the president of this body at that time, and we came up with the plan. The whole goal was to provide funding to businesses that were affected by the pandemic directly. And so we were looking at payroll and rent and utilities and other things that would potentially need to be paid back. I don't necessarily feel that the information given here doesn't necessarily reflect the spirit of that. And again, the restaurant, and we only accepted the application because they have an itinerant restaurant license, correct?
Yeah, it's not
or itinerant. Sorry.
No, it's not itinerant even. If you sell certain, like hot dogs on a rotisserie,
Sure.
certain things in the convenience stores require a restaurant license.
And I would agree that initially the city council did in fact close down fountain pop stations and those, and we lifted those, probably June? Somewhere. I think we enacted that in March, and then we lifted those when the governor lifted when he became less restrictive. Because it would have been in June when we allowed outside dining, so we lifted our restrictions. But again, that's not really where we're at on this application.
Well, and I would also add to your concerns, this particular place was not open in city limits of International Falls during that time frame. And that's where I actually agree with you, even going farther than today. If this gets resubmitted as a restaurant or food service, I still look at it as it doesn't meet the criteria of what we're looking at. And that's why I was just kind of having that conversation.
How long do they have before they can resubmit? What?
There was no,
as
far as I know, we had no.
Well, if they came, they could come in and resubmit.
Yeah, they could resubmit and maybe have a stronger application. Let's call it that. But to put up signage and utilize signage, the city actually has a outdoor beautification program that we do a low interest loan for. Fixing up the outsides of your building and stuff. So we actually have a program specifically for what he's looking at doing.
Up to $24,999.
Yeah.
Through this,
I guess
through
what
this
you
board.
have to do is just wait and see if they resubmit and see what it looks like.
Yeah, it may be a stronger application.
Yeah.
Please.
Can I just ask, so in the event that the IFEDA does deny unanimously, I'd ask your advise whether we're sending a formalized letter notifying them and the reason and the causation of their denial. I mean, I would assume that would be most appropriate.
I would agree.
I would amend my motion to reflect the said letter. Thank you, Ms. Rudd. I appreciate that.
All right, any other discussion? We have a motion and a second to deny, and I think we have some pretty good conversation on the reasoning for such. With that being said, I'll call the question.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion carries 4-0.
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
May I add to city administration that perhaps we could send them an application for the city's beautification loan process? Because this body does, in fact, grant those loans. It might not be a bad idea to just let them know that this more fits in a different loan, still through this body, but in a different loan.
It actually
makes
makes
sense.
a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can send the, I believe there's a program brochure that we can enclose and
Thank you.
Notify them.
I appreciate that because it does fit more that $24,999 loan versus the COVID.
All right. With that being said, we will adjourn.